Welcome to another episode of Simplexity Podcast series. We will be exploring the power of selflessness, consistency, and commitment in leadership and life. To help us better understand selflessness, we have Scott Glew, founder of FastU and Morning Startup. He's been organizing Morning Startup for over 10 years. Every fortnight, rain or shine, he is there on Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning. Being a founder himself, having drawn with so much of business challenges, he is still there with the commitment, consistency to give back to the community and give back to the fellow innovators, fellow startup founders, and common people a platform to get better in their life. I would like to welcome Scott to share his thoughts on the journey, what he is doing and why he is doing this, what it means for him, and take us through his journey of selflessness and why this commitment. Welcome, Scott.
Cool. Thanks, Deepak. Thanks so much for having me. I really don't think I'm anywhere near educated enough to be talking about selflessness and all of this, but I'll give it a go. So my name's Scott Glew. I am the co-founder of FastVue. That's FASTVUE to sound more sophisticated. And when I started FastVue, I won't do a whole company pitch. You can sort of look at the website if you want to know what it does. But when I started FastVue, myself and a friend, we started a meetup group called Morning Startup. So I met a friend, Isaac, at another community event around startups, and we sort of had a good conversation. We thought we'd keep it going. Met for coffee in the morning, and we were talking about subscription billing. This is back in the time when Stripe didn't exist or anything like that. So we thought, hey, we should probably get more founders along to this morning coffee meeting. So we knew of this website called meetup.com. We created a meetup group, called it Morning Startup, and just scheduled it for every 2 weeks. And the next one, I think we got 3 or 4 people along, and then the next one was 5 or 6, and then 7 or 8. And it wasn't too long after that, I actually moved to the US to continue on my startup. And the other guys, Justin and Isaac and a few others in the early group, they kept it going. They moved it out of the coffee shops that it soon outgrew and into Space Cubed, which was one of our friends started this company called Space Cubed, which is a whole bunch of co-working spaces, or it was just one co-working space at the time. So it was sort of serendipitous. Had Brody starting Space Cubed and had us starting Morning Startup and developing this community of entrepreneurs and people that were just interested in the startup space in Perth. And the two sort of grew together. So we've been running meetups at Space Cubed, or Riff, which is now just one of the spaces, every second Wednesday for the last 13 years now. And we've also started another group it's probably about 5 years ago, maybe even more than that, called Founder Sundowner. Not everyone is a morning person, including myself. And so that's for entrepreneurs and things that have kids and need to get them to school, and they can sort of come along to a pub once a month and have a chat at 5:30 p.m. on the first Wednesday of every month. So yeah, that's sort of the history of Morning Startup, I guess. As for why, back in the day, I don't know, we really had it was just really to meet other entrepreneurs, share stories, share ideas. It is kind of lonely when you just. I did have co-founders, so it wasn't too bad. But when you're just trying to get something up and running, you've got questions. You don't know the best ways to do things. So just being around other people doing the same stuff, going through the same shit that everyone else is going through, is really, really helpful. So. I guess that's kind of against the word selflessness, because I sort of did it for selfish reasons, to learn from others. But yeah, it's certainly been other founders coming along that I've actually offered some hopefully good advice to along the way. And yeah, I found that pretty rewarding and energizing, just being around people like that.
Thanks a lot, Scott, for the journey. And yeah, for me, when I came to Perth 5 years back, the first place I came to see you, and it's been there with me for a long time now. 5 years in Perth. Few people I know for 5 years, and you are one among them after Charlie and Kate and other few folks in Perth. Yeah, the one thing which surprises me is we talk about selflessness, right? The thing is, all the leaders, it's not easy for them to give away that pride and get to the level, like in your case, when we talk about every Wednesday morning, like second Wednesday morning, you are here at 7 o'clock in the morning. You said you are not a morning person, but then all the way from your place, you get to the station, get to the place, and it's, what is that? Is that something?
Madness.
It's value what you see with other people, or have you not felt that? Why am I doing this? What is that?
Yeah, I feel that every time that my alarm goes off at 6 a.m, and I'm just like, I'll snooze. But no, I've got to get there and put chairs up and make sure there's something going on. So complete madness is probably the word that goes with that. But on a more serious note, I don't know, I walk away from every morning startup feeling energized and inspired to get back to my home office and look into a new thing, or just a little bit more invigorated than I was before. It's a bit like exercise, you might have had the worst day ever, but if you put your exercise clothes on and get to the gym, when you walk out of the gym, you're always feeling better, so I think that's it for me. Even though it can be a struggle, especially going through winter, getting out there at 7:30 a.m, hearing a good talk, meeting some great people, it's always a win.
Right. And in your words, what does selflessness mean to you? Given that you are doing it as a passion, but then if you have to say, what is selflessness to you and why it is required in the leaders?
Yeah, good question. I first thought like selflessness is the same as helpfulness, like just be helpful. That's kind of the way I try to live my life. I don't know if I succeed on that all the time, but I guess you can be helpful and expect things in return, and that's probably not selflessness. So shifting the spotlight away from yourself and onto the people around you, prioritizing other people's success rather than your own, even if it's uncomfortable or there's no reward for you at the end of the day to do that. Creating an environment so that the others around you can succeed. So from a leadership perspective in a company, you don't need to always be the boss, the all-knowing boss that can just direct people to do as you will. It's really about finding the best people and then encouraging them and creating that environment for them to do their best work, which isn't just telling them what to do. It's the complete opposite. It's being helpful when you can, leading by example, giving them space, listening the right way. All of that sort of stuff comes into it.
That's definitely something which is a quality of a leader. Now, you've been doing this year after year, month after month, and day after day. Was there a situation where you felt wanted to, cry off loud and say, "This is what I envisioned," or was there a time where you felt that, oh, such a sad thing today?
I guess so. So from like morning startup perspective, there's always man, I want to yell this from the rooftops when you hear a story of someone that met someone else and they connected at morning startup and now they've grown a $3 million company or whatever it might be. There's those little anecdotes that we've heard along the 13 years of little, morning startup being the ignition that was needed for someone to get to that stage. And that's just, amazing every time I hear it. And but on the flip side of that, I guess one thing that stood out that wasn't so great, and I think it was at Founder Sundowner, and as you know, I guess a lot of the startup community is definitely male dominated. There are definitely female founders there, but when you go to the events, it's usually a good 80-20 or 75 at the best. And I remember getting a email from someone after a Founder Sundown just saying, I just want you to know that that was the most intimidating thing that I've ever gone to, because it was a table of dudes and she was the one female founder. She walked up and, just know how to interact. And instead of par was sort of just this blokey thing. And I just thought, oh man, that's like the opposite of what I want Morning Startup or Founder Sundowner to be. I want it to be encouraging, and anyone, no matter who you are, if you've got that, spark that you want to start something, you want to start a company or whatever it might be, you just need to share ideas. I want it to be welcoming and encouraging. That was a good wake-up call for me. And since been desperately trying to address that, which I've done this year. For a long time, it was just me and Dave Newman organising Morning Startup, two middle-aged white dudes. And it's like, well, how can you make something more encouraging for others when it's not demonstrated from the organising group of Morning Startup? So now we've got two amazing female founders on the team as well, Erin Clark and Nina. So they've been great. And you can also see it in just the events that we've been putting on this year. It's much better balanced, let's just say. So I guess that's the highs and the lows of Morning Startup, or just organising a meetup group. We've also had deaths through the 13 years of founders that we've known, people that have done pitches at Morning Startup, and that's been pretty horrible and tragic to deal with. Generally, I'm glad to say that the vibe is overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anyone who comes up on second Wednesday morning to Morning Startup, they would vouch for it. And also weekend startups, startup weekend, which happens once or twice a year, events, so that you're there too, encouraging people. So you are like omnipresent in any startup event, rather.
Omnipresent.
And the other thing, Scott, is the consistency, right? The one is being helpful and available. The other one is the consistency. So to be trusting, someone to be trusting, and someone to be, just to get that credibility, has this consistency to do anything with that, or they go hand in hand? How important consistency is for you to get the trust and credibility?
I think part of the success of Morning Startup is just its consistency, and it was just a checkbox on Meetup, every 2 weeks, and we haven't turned it off. So it's like, man, we've got to get a speaker. We've got to show up every 2 weeks, and we just haven't removed that. So doing that for 13 years, the community knows that, as you say, rain, hail or shine, there's going to be an event at Riff talking. Someone's going to be talking about something startup related, so they can be there and network with the community. As far as trust goes, I think I've been really adamant that any new organizer of Morning Startup has to be a founder, right? So we've had lots of offers of help from advertising agencies and accountants and lawyers and things that want to sort of, advertise to the startup community. But only a founder knows the topics that we want to hear about, knows the speakers that we want to put on. You shouldn't rock up to a Morning Startup and it be a pitch. Well, sorry, sometimes we do pitch events for founders to practice their pitch, but aside from that, we don't want like companies, pitching to the Morning Startup audience. It's just trying to keep it authentic, being content that founders relate to. And I think if you put that on every 2 weeks, that's where the trust and loyalty comes from. Hopefully people turn up and go, yeah, there's going to be something worthwhile to attend every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's something which has brought in the value, right? The value what you get in is like, oh, we go there every Wednesday morning. Like a lot of calendars are just blocked on a second, whether you have an event or not. They're so tuned to it that there is something going on, and also now you have that happens over the online. Thanks to COVID, the COVID has given us the opportunity to move everything online, and now that's been online and sitting in any corner of the world, someone can look into it. And for that matter, sometime I was in India and also in Japan. I happened to see it sitting there.
Oh, fantastic. Nice. The live stream doing its job. And that's all thanks to Charlie, and when he was working at Jitsi, got it live streamed for the regions and continued on. Yeah, no, it's been good. Glad to hear it works.
Yes. And we spoke about the selflessness and we talked about consistency. The commitment, like, for a leader to be looked at and to be having that consistency and that selflessness, what is the commitment they should put together, and how does it come from a leader, and how could he exhibit his commitment for the cause, something like this?
Sorry, so how can a leader exhibit consistency or
commitment, maintain this commitment, right? Maintaining this commitment for example, in your case, 13 years of commitment.
All right.
For this, yeah. How, and leaders for doing something like this, like what is that? What is there? Like, what is your experience and what do you think that leaders should have?
Right. Okay. Well, I guess there's two things there. There's the consistency commitment. So if you say you're going to do something, you do it. That comes down to discipline. Your own self-discipline. Whether it's going to the gym every day or whatever it might be, you've got to have your own way to turn up and not give yourself an out. It's too easy to say, oh man, I've had a bad day, so I'm not going to do that thing today. But especially with Morning Start, when other people are relying on you to do that thing, that makes it easier. You've got a reason to show up, and you've got the accountability of other people around you to perform. But yeah, if it's just your own personal thing, you need that level of discipline. I will always take it back to just brushing your teeth, right? It's like I always brush my teeth every day, and even if I've had a bad day, it's not like I go, oh, I'm not going to brush my teeth today because I've had a bad day. So that's the way you need to approach other things that you say you're going to do, and don't give yourself an out. Does that answer the question around the consistency side of things?
Yeah, thanks a lot for that. I think you're making it very clear, like what we speak, rain or shine, you're there, and there is a consistency there is a commitment, you do it or ensure that it's happening. And because there are people who are coming in the hope of learning something or in the hope of getting something out of it, or for the people who want to share the pain or the gain what they are going through in their own startup life. So yeah, being a platform for that is in a committed way is definitely is something which I was looking at. Okay, now we spoke about all the commitments and consistency and selflessness. Like, then slowly the world which is becoming more materialistic and self-centered us, and how and these struggles what we have with that. So how do you think that someone could get out of it? For example, you mentioned about discipline, you mentioned about being there and being consistent about it and thinking about people to help. These are some of the things you have mentioned. So by consistently doing that, is it something that we can get over our self-centeredness, or is there anything else more than that we can have our listeners to know about it?
like things you can do in your everyday life to get through or to be more selfless.
Yep.
So I guess again, just being helpful wherever you can, whether it's a random act of kindness, offering to help without expecting something in return. If anyone can do that every day. Saying yes as often as you can to whether it's podcasts or offering to do meetup groups or whatever it might be. Although there is conflicting advice on that. There's a lot of people saying no, you've got to say no all the time, but there's definitely the sweet ground. Like definitely say no when your priorities get compromised, due to schedules or whatever it might be, or what you're being asked to do goes against your values or creates stress or drains your energy or whatever. But generally say yes and be helpful. Give credit to other people where credit's due. Definitely, and on the flip side of that, take blame when blame is due. Even if it's shared blame, you need to absorb that. And like I said before, just making the space for others to sort of contribute meaningfully and do their best work. So even when you think you've got the best idea, allow the space in that conversation for others to contribute and give their point of view. A big thing for me as well is also just communication. Like study communication, interpersonal communication. Find any opportunity you can to improve your level of interpersonal communication. I'm terrible at it. I always think I've been terrible at it. I'm okay when I'm writing and I've got time to think through my words, but when I'm actually just talking to someone, I'm not great. So, but I'm conscious of that. I always leave a conversation going, okay, how could I have been more thoughtful about that interaction, So anyone that, can do that, I guess, apply those to your interactions. Walk away and go, how could I improve that?
Yeah, actually that was, I had a last question. You already answered that last question. How do we involve in helping or standing up there and walking with a person a mile with him and trying to be part of his journey and enjoying his success and supporting his cause rather than his or her cause rather than looking at our cause. So these are some of the great views which come out in the selflessness. And the act of selflessness is not only being and helping others, being asking for help. Basically the thing is, if we are in a situation, that will give us an opportunity to stand up and say, look, I'm in trouble, I need help. So that shows that we are not just preaching anything, but then we are doing it and we are living what we speak, right? So that's something which I have tried to explain in my book Simplexity. My other people whom I think very profoundly of their service is doctors and teachers and who keep doing it, right? Who keep doing it for years. A teacher is a teacher for what? 40 years, 50 years. They don't change. They are teachers. Doctor is a doctor for 50 years. They don't change. At least we change in our life, right? We have different roles to play in our life as an entrepreneur or as a coach or something like that, but they don't do it. So in Indian context, I'm not sure how much you are aware of. In India, when roads were built, right? Roads were built from village to village. The road trees which were planted on the either side of the road, initially it was done by kings and some old kings, but then later on it was the villagers who doesn't sit under the tree. They have planted those trees, right? And they are not just trees, they are fruit trees, right? And people can sit down, have a fruit and enjoy about it. So that's something which I take it with a pride when I look at people, leaders who give up their time, give up their priorities, be there, available, consistent, committed, and trying to help the people. And thank you for doing that for Perth for almost 13 years. And yeah, it is definitely a selfless act from you, Scott. I would like to credit you for that, and also Dave for being part of both of you being part of the growth of the startup journey in startup life in Perth.
Oh, thanks, Deepak. Yeah, I appreciate the kind words. I'm pretty sure that there was a quote on the the original riff around the, wise men plant trees in the shade of that they know they're never going to sit in, or something along those lines. Completely butchering the quote, but yeah, it's nice to bring it full circle like that. That's sort of been the statement that you see whenever you walk into Brodie's place
Yeah.
in Riff, encouraging everyone to do the same.
Thanks a lot, Scott. You have a wonderful day, and wish you all the success in your selflessness journey, and also in your business.